it's good.
Okay.
We don't have any money. You'll hear about it here shortly.
Let's go. Let's do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Cashin.
Here.
Mrs. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Traver.
Here.
Mr. Trainer.
Here.
And Mr. Wright.
Here.
All right. First item up is the approval of the agenda for this evening. Mr. Ferguson, any adjustments to that agenda?
Yeah, we got a few. On page 10, numbers 11, 12, and 13. On page 11, numbers 8, 9, and 10. On page 12, numbers 8 and 9. And on, yes, should be 14, administration instruction page, numbers 4, 5, and 6.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cashin.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Traver.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And Mr. Wright.
Yes.
All right, next item is the approval of the minutes from the October 19th, 2021 regular board meeting. Draft copies were sent out, and there have not been any changes since those draft copies have been sent out.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cashin.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Traver.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Right now.
Thank you. Any recognitions tonight that we need to make, Mike?
No. No, we do not have any officials.
I'd just like to thank the Genoa Levy Committee. There's a lot of people that work their butts off, and it's really tough when it's a fail. It doesn't diminish the work that was done, the heart and effort that they put into it. So I just want to publicly say thank you to the teachers, parents, and just citizens of the community that participated in that. We will get it. But more to come.
All right. Input from the administration staff. Who do we have present? Obviously, Brenda, you can go first if you want.
Kind of different being in here instead of the auditorium, and it was so close. We had parent-teacher conferences, and we had like 98.5% attendance, so it really was successful. We also did virtual and in person, and it was a good combination, and I think Angie could probably attest that I think it's important to keep part of the virtual. Some parents like that, being in person, not taking a full day off. We had vision and hearing screenings in grades 3 and 5. Mayor Bergman came to visit our 3rd grade and talk about local government. That was kind of a nice treat for our students. We've been taking field trips again. Yay! It's nice to get back on track again. So we've gone to the Art Museum for grades 3 and 5. Tonight you're going to approve a Sylvan program, hopefully, for grades 3. We have, we'll be serving 15 3rd grade students. We really have quite a few identified as not being proficient at the level yet, but we'll be offering it in January for like 7 weeks through ESSER funds, right, Bill?
Yes,
Yeah.
there is an amount specific for that, yes.
Good.
Are we going to have a presentation specifically about that tonight? or?
No, we just had the contract tonight. We've done it before, probably 5-6 years ago, we used to do it. We did it like 3 years for second and third grade.
With Title
No,
I
just third
grant
grade.
monies.
Third, yeah.
Was it just third
It was just
grade?
third grade. It was because of the third grade year.
And we did a summer
We had a
program
grant.
actually,
Yeah.
even with it.
And Angie used to teach it. We offer it to our teachers. Sylvan pays them, but we have our teachers that first dibs. So it's a pretty clear-cut program. We identify students, we send a letter home. They get to pick Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. They're tested. They stay after school for 2 hours, and then throughout the program, we test them, and then post-testing at the end. And we have 101 students K-3 on RIMS, which is our Reading Improvement Monitoring Plan, which is quite a lot of kids. I think PLP did not help us last year, a lot of kids staying at home or working from home, so we're working really hard to get those kids up and over the hurdle. Student Council, Aubrey Williamson's doing a great job. We're starting collecting items for the Holiday Bureau, starting the week after Thanksgiving. Every day she has a different item that will be collected. So they do a really good job of collecting items. And OTAS evaluations are underway. We met today here at the board office and talked about with Cody and all the administrators how we're doing it. And we're hoping to have December 7th, the 5th grade band concert, or music concert in person. So keep our fingers crossed, that's what we're planning on. Will be our first one this year
Nice.
in person. So, other than that, things are going well.
Amy, anything to add?
No, I actually worked with Brenda on the agenda,
Yeah.
we teamed it together, so. I promise, no, we're.
Got it, okay. Just give you a chance to be heard.
Yes, thank you.
Kevin, what do you got for the middle school?
Just a few things. Jeff Cruz is retiring as our custodian. He's served 32 years in the district, so tomorrow's his last day. Jeff's been great for our building. He's only been in the middle school for about 4 or 5 years. I don't know what term you use, chopping wood, grinding it out, or teachers are and staff working hard. It's just difficult with quarantines and absences and just, different world now, and I applaud our staff for hanging in there, because it's tough. You're not sure which kids are going to be present which day, and they're absent, they're back, and as a teacher, there's nothing worse than makeup work, and we're constantly chasing our tails, it seems like, but they're doing a really good job and keeping their heads up. So
How many are we out now since the change in?
it's a lot better, and thank you for doing that. A few weeks ago we had close to 100. Before we put in the mask, come to school with the mask, so that's really helped. Anytime we have a case and we call kids down to say you're quarantined, maybe 1 out of 10 or 12 will say their parents want them to stay home. So,
Do we have any numbers as far as, the people who opt for the mask, if anybody is testing positive later? Do we have any sort of numbers on that?
I'd have to look at the dashboard here, but we as I just asked Kim Earl this question, the same question the other day, and she's same response. She says out of each grouping, whether it's 10 or 15 kids or 12 kids, there's usually at least one that is choosing to stay at home on quarantine. Right now, there's 32 kids that are considered quarantined. Based on what she told me, there's maybe 5 or 6 that are actually staying at home. The rest are in school. So
I think your question though is, how many, are we seeing kids, so now that we've done that, are we seeing kids become positive later at any higher rate, or?
Our kids with the masks.
We had a streak. We had a little bit of a streak at the middle school, but that it wasn't necessarily tied. We couldn't really tie them. We had a student or 2 students that were isolated with COVID. Those kids returned. The kids that were quarantined returned to mass, and we probably had 2 or 3 that were out of that group, but you couldn't necessarily tie it to. And there was a couple that had cases at home. So it's just really hard to tie them to one thing in particular when they're exposed to everything else out there.
So policy's been a success.
Very much so.
Yeah, we can't, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's nowhere near our threshold of shutting down.
No, no.
I
Now, a
can,
couple weeks ago, it would have been, we had 150 kids out like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It was a lot of kids out. People
Well, those are
did
mostly,
change.
well, that was
Yes.
because of quarantines, not because of illness.
No. And our kids, really, the ones that even test positive, very minor symptoms. They don't really get sick. It's the teachers that we're hurting that get sick.
How's that gone? Is there any-
We had
because we had our little run of it, seems like,
Yeah, we go
but
through
then
starts.
it seems to have been fairly calm lately, with teachers being out, but, okay.
But a lot of our teachers have been vaccinated or wear masks and they still get it, so.
Yeah, right. It's not going away, so, all right. High school staff, obviously our high school principal, I assume we have our assistant principal here. Any comments you'd like to make? Coach, assistant principal, but your season, congratulations.
Thank you. Didn't prepare anything, but I'll take this opportunity to, on a personal note, to thank the school board for their expression of sympathy at my mother's funeral. I do have to say that the presence of Genoa there meant a lot to me and to my family, so it was, being a new person here, it really was special to have that representation of Genoa at the funeral, so thank you all very much. And as far as if I have the floor right now,
You do.
very proud of our football team and the progress that we made this year, and again, thank the school board, the school district, and the community for the support that we had, but the way that we progressed and persevered in that playoff game and came back and won against North Union. Very proud of the boys, and it's a very positive feeling in the program right now. So hoping that carries over into the winter and spring sports as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, yes, we obviously have some changes going on here. We will be hiring a couple of people here tonight, some new high school custodian, and then our new high school secretary, who's sitting right over there.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not sure of anything at this point.
No, she's already.
We'll take it
half the room's like, cool.
We proved.
You just made their day.
Yeah.
So, Susie's already stepped up and is doing a good job for us, and I anticipate that going forward. I don't know where you want to categorize this under. We had quite a good response to the last parent email that I sent out a couple weeks ago, just kind of asking for consideration for the new substitute teacher guidelines, since they've been changed. And so Red Hill got a good response. I sent about 10 parents that way to Red Hill, and the question becomes whether or not they follow through with everything. We've already had a few that have followed through. We've already had one in the building, I think, at least, and that's going to hopefully go a long way, especially if the elementary's taking a pretty big hit with the lack of subs over there. Hopefully to calm some things down and make sure the essential teachers can keep seeing their kids on a regular basis. So again, hopeful that people are going to follow through with that. We are just starting the process of looking for a new school nurse. I think we had Kim Earle's resignation a month or so more ago, I guess, a little bit of a while, but so we'll be looking for that position.
Is there any thought she might change her mind, since we're not, a lot's changed since.
Yeah, I know. No, she's pretty
Okay.
much set that that's what she's going to do. So, so if anybody knows anybody, you can certainly send them my way. We'll be putting a posting out here hopefully tomorrow. As far as that goes, the goal for that person training with Kim for her last week or two. I think that is most of it. Again, just as everybody else has echoed, the staff's just doing a great job, just wading through everything. And for whatever reason this year we haven't hit as hard. Last year the COVID hit the high school harder than every other building. This year the elementary and the middle school, middle school's probably taking the brunt of it. But so we've been lucky or blessed, whatever you want to call it. And staff has just done a good job of working through those changes and those challenges that they're facing. And Yeah, things are moving along. Just a great group of staff and kids to boot, so. Very happy with that.
Do we think we're gonna have another, shot clinic or, you know?
It's up to the county. That was the county asked to host that, last Monday, so it's up to them whether or not they wanna put that out there. So, they had a good turnout. And I guess it depends on what the rounds are that they're making and what the availability is. Seems like there's no issue with availability as far as the vaccines go right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have back again now that the 5 to 11-year-olds are eligible. We'll see what kind of response we get from parents. But I'll be in touch with them here again this week and see what their plans are.
I did something real quick for high school. The board got an email from Mrs. Richards about NHS inductions on Friday, so if you can't make it,
10:30,
can we send something? Just a little. tip.
I'll be there for the board.
I'll be there, I don't know if
It's in my calendar, but I don't know.
I'm sitting, if I'm sitting, are the parents sitting with their students?
Mm-mm.
Well, then I'll be there with the board.
You get credit for both, so it's cool.
So just one last thing to share. I had a gentleman call me yesterday and just wanted to share some good news with me about our students. And it's a little convoluted story, but I'll try to narrow it down here. So he's not doesn't live in the district, and his wife went to pick up her mother in Fremont and was driving her to meet him. I can't remember where they live, but they were driving through Woodville and they stopped at the speed trap to get ice cream for birthday. And this actually happened the first week in September. He said, "I'm sorry, I was a little late getting back to you on this." So they stopped there, and I guess the mother waited in the car while the daughter went to get ice cream for her birthday. And somewhere in the process, and the gentleman that called me wasn't sure if his wife had engineered this a little bit, but there just happened to be a group of our cross-country kids that had stopped there on the way back from their meet. They were the girls team, and I guess the mother was sitting in the car waiting for her daughter to come back with the ice cream, and all of a sudden she was surrounded by a group of kids. The car was surrounded by a group of kids who all began to sing happy birthday to her at the top of their lungs. And he said it just made her day, and she was just ecstatic. And he just wanted us to know what good kids we have, and just something positive, because he knows we take. He's also in education, and he knows what kind of stuff we deal with and take. But they were just really impressed with our Genoa kids and their response to that. So it's good news.
Congrats to Coach Strickland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff.
It's good leadership, you
Yeah.
know. I think all of our teams should do that, those kinds of things, whether it's popping in and, it's good, co-curricular education, so to speak, going out and doing those kind of things. Kids don't naturally think of those, but when they're prompted, led by a good coach, they'll jump right in and be able to, I think it's almost should be a prerequisite for head coaches. To be honest with you, they should have some kind of community outreach plan as part of their evaluation, in my opinion. It matters to the community, makes a difference in people's lives, and it should be a part of what they do. Lauren, you got anything? Holly, you got anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit today about teachers in general, what we're kind of going through. If I'm being honest, I'm really nervous about us, our mental health in general. I think that, going into this third year of teaching in the pandemic and flying on the seat of our pants the whole time, it's been really hard. The burnout is real. Then you get no subs, which means no planning periods, or you're being pulled away from your kids to do things. A cut list that's looming, public getting on Facebook saying we don't deserve to get paid what we get paid and all that. It's been really hard. It's been really, really hard. And, we lost 5 teachers last year and 2 admins, and I wouldn't be surprised if we lose more, and I'm just really concerned. And I know that our district is up a creek right now, and your focus has been on finances and PR and things like that. But I would really love if we could turn our focus a little bit to our teachers and what they need in their mental health. We see news stories about, TPS is saying, we appreciate you, you deserve days off. We're gonna give you, 2 days off at Thanksgiving and go that way. And we see other stories from other districts of gestures and, I get a lot of comments like, what about us? We keep hearing, you're doing a great job, you're doing so much more with less, and it's just getting a little hard right now. And so I just wanted to be very transparent with you. While it's wonderful to hear the accolades from all the administrators and whatnot, it's kind of like you tell your wife 100 times you love her. She's like, cool, that's great. But like you come home with flowers, it's like, wow, that's meaningful. I'm not saying we need, I don't know what we need. We just need a little bit of something. Some kind of sugar, some kind of warmth, a little bit more than an email or a good job at a board meeting. Whatever that should be, I'm just trying to be very open and honest with you that we're in trouble right now. So.
I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
I think that's always the case. I mean, it doesn't really, for sure the teachers deserve that.
Oopsie too. It's not just teachers, it's all
But
the
yeah,
staff.
it's everybody needs that. You know what I mean? Across the board. Administrators need that, board members need that. It's tough. It's hard. The position we find ourselves in, a bunch of really good people, really conscientious people trying to do the right things for their families and their community, for the staff in their buildings, and to fall short, and you know what? All I know is to do is put your head down, and keep grinding. Right.
We've been trying.
And
We're getting to it.
frankly, what I would tell my team, Holly, is I can get anybody to try. It's about the do. And we're gonna try. Trying it's what we have to do. It's where we find ourselves. Do we need to do something to make sure that they feel appreciated beyond a board meeting on it? I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're saying that's the situation we find ourselves in. They're not unique. It is what it is until it isn't. And it's hard. And we can't express that enough to this community, like when we go to vote. And I hear you, but it is what it is.
I would say it is, we are unique though, because, and I want to talk about this when we get into finance, but, we spent a couple days in Columbus last week, and there's so many stories of additional headcount, all these additions from what the ESSER's money was intended to do that we can't do here because we're trying to fill our general budget with it. Fostoria is sitting on $9 million of ESSER's money they don't know what to do with. We could easily fill that with support and those things if we had the money. We don't have the money. It's weird. We were in multiple meetings where school systems are trying to figure out what to do with all the money. Like, this was legitimate topics. Bill was in one, the four of us were in one together. I mean, it's just legitimate topics. This is a unique, we're in a weird spot. I met with Jeremy Marks, the Office of Federal Programs for the Ohio Department of Education. And he pulled up our numbers, our grade card while we were there and said, I've not seen this. Like, this district is just in the crack. And there was money to help with all this, all that you're talking about, and our district, for whatever reason, we don't have enough poverty here, basically, or registered poverty, in order to qualify for the funds that are designed to keep us above water, and we're just a really odd district that our property values don't support us, our poverty doesn't get us the federal grants, our ESSER's money is less than every district around us, and that money is designed to fix these problems, but we can't use it that way because we're fixing the holes in our budget with it. And I get where you're at. And like, there are school systems with no, subs are an issue, but they've hired in full-time subs. They've hired in additional aides. They've hired in, and we can't. And I think it is a unique situation. And last week, I mean, it really was eye-opening. I thought more districts were like us. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, yes and no, but I think, right, I mean, what you guys are saying, it's stuff that Holly and everybody else already knows and understands. I think what our teachers are looking for is something to help them now. Like, they're crying out to Holly and telling Holly, like, look, we're burned out, we've got a lot of stuff going on, we're not getting the help, what can we do temporarily?
No, I'm agreeing with
these
that.
guys. So,
I
I'm a big, help when it comes to mental health, and I don't wanna see our teachers burned out. I don't wanna lose good teachers at all. So what can we do, Mike, to help our teachers right now? Because they are asking for help. And we need to give them something to show them, like, yes, we recognize and we wholeheartedly agree with your mental health, because that is important. I mean, listening to you, Holly, I look at you, you look defeated, and I hate that.
It's been a rough couple of years, for sure.
And people can say what they want online about you guys. You deserve everything and more when it comes to, we all agree that. But we need something temporarily to help.
And I think it's not only our mental health, it's also our physical health.
Right.
I got COVID October 13th and I'm still, not fully back to what I was.
And I know we have teachers with health issues going on right now.
Yeah. And
Major health
talking
issues.
about the kids, last year we were hybrid, we were, had our Mondays. My kids grew more than a year. So we're working hard and we've been doing it since COVID started, so.
And I don't want to call anybody on the spot, but I mean, we are asking, I mean, they're sending Holly, it's a cry for help. I see it online. I mean, our teachers need help. And I commend them for coming to you and asking for that, and you to come to the board at a public meeting and say, hey, we're losing our stuff here. It's not easy.
So I don't know what the answer is, I just needed to get it out there. I've already talked to Mike about this last week, but I thought you guys needed to hear it too from me as well. So, I'm not sure, looking around, seeing what other districts are doing, like I said, TPS gave Monday, Tuesday of Thanksgiving off, and just said, let's have some time with your families, refresh, recharge. I don't know that it even has to be necessarily monetary. I don't know. Roster did it as well. So, something to think about. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any input from the public? Anything from online? Nothing online? Nobody present? All right, treasurer's report. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, first thing is the actual compared to budget for the month of October. Third of the year, of the fiscal year complete. In the revenue section, not a lot to talk about. Bless you. Excuse me. Thank you. We did receive some excess costs in the other line. This is from other districts that have a court-placed student here or a special ed student here. We do get some reimbursement for that. So that excess cost is in there. That is kind of sporadic. It usually doesn't come in any one specific month. So although the variance is positive right now, I do budget for it overall for the full year, but just not in any single month because it is sporadic. So that should even itself out by the end of the year. But if you look at revenue, after a third of the year, just $13,000, a little under $14,000 favorable. So things are basically trending kind of where I thought it would be. Now the expenditure side of things, a little bit more sporadic. I'm not going to really talk much about the month of October. I want to talk a little bit further about the year-to-date totals that we do have. Especially fringe benefits. Fringe benefits, that line item, I believe, should stay relatively positive going forward for this year. In the case that we had a better than expected health insurance, well, it's still an increase, but it's a lesser of an increase than we usually have. So that line item compared to budget should stay favorable. Purchase services, once again, every year that goes up and down due to the fact, we get some invoices in and timing and so forth. Right now, we are waiting on an invoice from Woodmore and also some partial billing from Wood County. So that's a little bit ballooned in a favorable amount right now, so that should come down closer to budget as we move forward. Same holds true, I went through the materials and supplies lines, everything through there should actually, there's some stuff in there that we have not utilized, so that also should come down closer to budget. Cash balance right now, 165, almost 166,000 favorable. The trend right now is about $100,000 less than budget. The budget for this year is a little under 360,000. Negative deficit spending. We are deficit spending trending about 250,000 right now. So that's kind of where we're at after a third of the year. Not great news, but not horrible news.
So about $100,000 to the good.
At this
From
point,
budget,
now,
from budget.
now you will see, when I talk about the 5-year forecast, you're gonna look at fiscal year '22, and I actually have it ending a little bit worse than I budgeted. So things are trending right now one way, but I feel, as I looked at everything, I think we're gonna actually trend a tad worse. I'm hoping not. I think these are pretty significant numbers, pretty good numbers. It just depends on how we spend federal dollars and how we offset a few things. Now, once again, things aren't going to be, don't expect to see non-deficit spending, but don't expect to see deficit spending of 600 or 750,000. Where we are in the range, these ranges, that's where we're going to be. Whether it be 350,000 or 400,000 or 300,000, it's going to be within $100,000, $150,000 range. And that's not horrible when you talk about a $13 million budget.
What got you skeptical about the additional money for '22?
Well, we didn't, we spent a little bit more money on a fuel depot that I didn't expect.
How much?
About $30,000 or $40,000 more than I was expecting. I had a little bit in there, but not that much. So that's just one aspect. Another aspect, when you look at rollback at Homestead, I went back and reconfigured my numbers. There's a trend downward from 2018 that I didn't necessarily have in the budget, which is another 10 to 15 grand. There's a few small things that are kind of adding up to a few bigger amounts. And I hope, to be honest with you, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm off a little bit on the wrong side. But as you know, I do conservative, so that's basically what I did when I looked at the forecast. And I do have some comments about the forecast once we get to that point. So that's kind of where we're at, 1/3 of the year. Like I said, early on in the year, things can certainly change as we move along. That's kind of where I have us as we are today. Any questions, comments, concerns about the actual comparative budget at this point? All right. Well, good news. I do have just one item to talk about. The bad news, it is a 5-year forecast. It is a larger item. We went through this pretty significantly last night at Finance. I'm not going to go through everything like that. I did give you a notable 5-year forecast item listing. If I do have one word to say about this forecast, it's probably unsettled, because nothing is really settled from state foundation funding, although we have a new foundation funding method of that. We've heard estimates. We were supposed to get the actuals here in October. ODE did not have everything ready. They're supposed to be in December. So I'm going by essentially estimates on essentially our largest line item of revenue.
How confident are you in the estimate?
With ODE, anything can happen.
Right.
I have to go with my gut. I feel it's probably pretty
Right, it's all we
comparable
got.
to where we should
At
be.
the end of the day, it's all we got, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be off millions of dollars, but do I think it could be a little bit of adjustment? Sure, a few $1,000s here and there. The reality of it is, even if it is off, what we're being provided by the new Fair School funding plan is not a game changer. So, just to let you know.
It's $61 per student,
Yeah, it's not.
per year,
It's not much.
It doesn't cover the cost of a single teacher. I think it's 78,000.
What's that?
78,000.
78,000 the first year, we're supposed to get
Another
a small
6 or 8
increase of 6 or 7,000 the next year, so yes. It's
But for the
not-
record, I mean, there are districts around the state that are thrilled with the new fair
Correct.
funding.
If you're a,
It
if you're a
is
suburban
really, really
district,
exciting.
yeah, it is massive, it is a game changer in districts. Like, that's the thing people need to understand, like, some districts are celebrating, like, this is a huge game changer. So their funding looks like this. You know, it's an upward climb, as if it gets fully funded, the following years, it just gets better and better and better for them. And there's lots of districts in that.
And I'll use that to illustrate Jeff's earlier point about when being in the crack. We're kind of in the netherworld.
Yeah.
We're in the void.
And I think what I've gotten from our legislators is they thought they fixed it. They thought passing this fixed it. But what they didn't do was look at the individual districts. They looked at the average, and on the average, it looks great. If you look at the macro, it looks great for school funding in Ohio. But they simply, there's us and other districts like us that are just left behind, and there's no good answer with this current system. It didn't, I think it's a misnomer. When you vote for something and on the macro, it's great for Ohio schools, but on the micro, there's just left behind districts, and we're one of those districts.
I mean, we were really hoping we'd catch a break for once, you know, in this respect on getting something righted. But unfortunately, it doesn't. It isn't a, like I said, a game changer in no way, shape, or form. You know, overall, the 5-year forecast. You know, we still have a fiscal year 25 balance, negative cash balance that is just going to continue to stay there. Fiscal year 24, it did improve from the May forecast, only because of two different things. Number one, I basically took almost every penny we did or are getting from ESERS and threw it at regular expenditures that are going to happen. That made it bigger. I did not have that in May. The other thing, and we lose sight of this, and I'm not sure how many people out in the public know this or even are aware, but you got to remember, both of our unions, along with the administration, basically took a freeze this year, which essentially helped out the salaries and wages line in comparison to the May forecast. So, you know, along with everything Holly said, everything else going on here, they took a freeze also. So, I mean, I don't know, things are, and that certainly helped our forecast, but at what consequence did that happen? So, you know, we have investment earnings at historical lows that are taking its toll. Every dollar counts, obviously. You know, and our special education costs. As you know, we had basically from 2015 to 2021, a 94% increase in special education costs year over year. So we still have that continuing. Like I said, if you look at this forecast short term, you're going to say, okay, we don't look too bad. Don't look any further than the first year or two, because then things start getting pretty rough. And
Can I explain the piece that you shared with me
Sure,
last
sure.
night? Because I was confused. So if you look at the state support line item, and you'll look in 2021, 2022, it goes up to 6.2 million 55,000. Does everybody notice that? You guys have that by chance? Oh, you don't have it. So-
it goes from 5.7 million to 6.2 million.
It looks like it went up. It actually did not go up, because you gotta look at line item other including investment earnings, and that is, in 2020 into 2021, it's 1.6 million, and it drops to 427,000. Because what happens is the money that we got for open enrollment shifted from that line item to the other line item. So it looks on paper, if you looked at our state funding, it'll look like we got an increase, but it decreased off, it's a shell.
Okay. Well,
and it moved it.
there's a
So-
few other shell game items
Yeah,
in
in
there,
there.
not just those two, so you can't really look at those. I mean, down in the purchase services line item, they actually took one off there and adjusted it. There's a few, like I said, that's why I said the forecast is unsettling. Because it is. I mean, there's so many game, things that are changing in the game, including state foundation in general.
If you look though, the important one is the total receipts went from 13,181 down to 12,503. So we're lower in receipts coming in, and then our costs went from 12,800,000 to 13,028,000. So
It goes back to that spreadsheet I showed you,
yeah,
that revenue usually stays like this and expenditures,
yeah.
you know, that's basically what's happening.
I just don't want anybody confused when they look at that state line and go, oh, we're up about 500,000. What do you do? Oh, it
Overall,
just
you're-
moved. We're actually down.
Yeah.
So.
Correct. So like I said, this forecast is partial shell game, partial unknown. There's just a lot of things going on. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to ask for approval for this 5-year forecast. I will send it down to the state. Don't be surprised if you see an unofficial 5-year forecast at some point throughout this fiscal year. If there's a material change in one of the line items, I feel that I need to come back to you and provide you an update on the forecast. Don't be surprised. It certainly could happen, might not, but just give you a forewarning that you might be bored again with the 5-year forecast. But essentially,
What are you anticipating there? Because it seems to me you're anticipating something.
well, I have not received the final, what real estate tax is going to do. I know we're supposed to have an increase there, which will help increase our inside millage. State foundation for sure. You know, open enrollment is always a maybe. You never know exactly what that's going to be. And purchase services. Purchase services is always a known when we go through it with special education costs. So, you know, just state foundation in general is enough to bring this back to you if that's off by anything, any circumstance. So, so that's kind of where we're at 5-year forecast wise. You know, I know we've tried to, and we have the last year we did deficit spend, but it wasn't that much. You know, using the federal grant monies to offset some expenditures will certainly help 22 and 23, but then you fall off the cliff in 24, 25, 26 when that dries up. And Jeff makes great points that, you know, any road we try to take to get some support, it hasn't necessarily worked out. Whether it be, trying to look at a possibility of industry, or the fortunate to have a pipeline coming through. We don't have that coming through. We kind of missed the mark on a lot of things, and the last things is state foundation funding. We're not, I personally, when I talked to Cajun Keaton, he was on one of the committees, he's the treasurer at Oak Harbor. He was on one of the committees that basically tried to form the school funding plan. He said this is what wouldn't be money raining down on you, but this should be a helper. Well, it's not necessarily even a helper. So we're kind of back to where we were before I got excited to a point about the community funding plan.
Let him know he failed us.
He basically, well, I know it doesn't matter to Carver as much as we did. It does to us, but Oak Harbor didn't benefit much for this either, to be quite honest with you.
I think the difference though between us and Oak Harbor is the starting point.
There is, no doubt about
They didn't
that.
benefit,
I'm
but
not-
they're
I'm
at
not
a
saying
3,000 per child.
They're different.
Correct.
Yeah,
They
they're
are.
just at a different
It's not
point.
even
Yeah.
close.
They just have the levy too.
One of the most interesting things that I found that Bill shared with me is, so I asked him for Ottawa County's $100,000, what's your tax rate versus per pupil spending? And I think Danbury was the scariest one. It was $400 less on $100,000 in taxes. And the receiving per child, the benefit each child receives is $10,000 more per child than we receive in the district. It just
10,000 more.
10,000 more. They're spending about 19,000, we're spending about 9. And they're paying less in taxes to get that 10,000 per $100,000 home. It's all profit, the system is set up in a way that is inequitable. And we could fix it with a calculator in Columbus, but nobody wants to use a calculator because there'd be so many losers. There's so many districts that would be losers. And that's what there's no teachers union to come in and say, hey, this is unfair, because half the teachers unions are like, don't change a thing, this is great.
Right.
And there's no, so many districts would lose if they fix it the way they should, that it'll never get fixed. And they're well-off districts, they're poor districts. It's not even a group. Like, that's the crazy thing. You know, you've got Youngstown getting $19,000 a student. Now their average income is $29,000. They're spending, they should have that $10,000 more than us because they have social services that we don't even have to imagine what they have to deal with. But they would lose. And then a Perrysburg would lose, and a Rossford would. There's too many people on the losing end that will never let it happen. So the fix has to be with it's not going to be on this grand scale. It's been 20 years where they said it's broken, and they're not going to fix it because there's so many winners. There's just so many winners that would have to give up their media rooms and their AP courses and all the things that are just amazing when you go into these districts. There were six electric buses were sold for $300,000 with districts that just were like, hey, let's buy an electric bus. I mean,
we have buses that seriously are on the road today that are from the 1990s.
they're qualified for a classic plate.
And that's not a lie, that's a fact. We have purchased 7 buses within the last 3 or 4 years to try to offset that, but we still have buses that are older and old. That should not be happening. We'll keep on working the best we can through what we have, but unfortunately, the realities at Genoa are just that, the reality that we're going to have to continue to ask for support from the district, from the community. That's not gonna go away. We're gonna probably have to think outside the box on a couple things. Potentially that I probably would have never fathomed, that I even bring up in a conversation, but that's for another conversation. But that's kind of where we're at, unfortunately. You look at this, although it got a tad better, basically it's unfortunately that it's due to freezes and the utilization of all of our federal funding that other districts are utilizing for betterment, we're utilizing just to continue.
Yeah, and I believe there's a missing $150,000 a year that is public fund, or private funding. You know, it's PTOs, GAC,
Probably more than that.
funding,
Yeah, the same.
standard operating, facilities, uniforms, equipment, band uniforms, field trips, stuff that's just not privately funded at a public school in a normal situation. It's not normal, and it's actually made our district, we're the most, we were ranked, what, third in that report? Third out of 610 districts. Basically, we're the most efficient district, 3 out of 610, we're the most efficient. So, I mean, it's like, we should be the model. I mean, we should be rewarded by the state and people that think funding should, equitable funding and responsible funding. It's super frustrating, and this is so complex to explain to a community, to understand, and it's taken me 6 years to even get that much understanding of it.
Plus, once again, you see things change. Things change, and when you think you have a good concept or a good grasp of what's happening, there's change.
I scolded Bill yesterday, and I felt bad about it, because he said, well, the 78,000, that's, it's better than a loss. And I yelled at him, quit saying that's a good thing, but the reality is, we got a $360,000 cut not too long ago, and we got 78,000 back. I mean, and if you look at 2006, if we just simply had been, we'd be better off in 2006 from our state funding than we are today.
That is fully accurate.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. We're getting the same amount of money that we did 15, 16 years ago, and it has nothing, there's inflation every year, and we're still at that level, so. Any other questions,
Yeah,
comments?
this last comment about that,
What's that?
I hate to be but with the entire state celebrating this legislation, not the entire, obviously, but a large percentage, it's not changing.
Right.
So just, what? I
It-
don't see it changing anytime soon.
I'll tell you this.
So
this-
in the immediate, for this district,
True, 2
we
years.
can opine all we want about state funding. The state is celebrating this while we suffer.
I think we do need to opine, we need to do it extremely
Well,
publicly.
you can, I don't
We
think
haven't
it's-
done it yet, we still
What?
haven't done it.
What
We
do you
still haven't-
wanna do?
I wanna do a referendum asking to fix this. You can,
I'm just saying,
we gone to the voters
we
3
can
times
do
and
it.
they said no, and they're taxing more than every one of our neighbors. We need to do something different, we need to go outside the box, we need to get loud,
Right.
we need to be a pain in the ass, we need to do it.
Yeah, I don't expect it to bear a whole lot of fruit. I think it'll be much ado about nothing. I do, I think it does need to be done. I'll agree with you. We can do it because somebody needs to know that we're getting the short end of the stick, but I'm just trying to read the tea leaves. I don't expect politically that it will bear much fruit. So with that in mind, we have to deal with what is.
I think we passed the levy. I will tell you, I think we'll pass the levy. Our
Okay.
our parents will get scared, we'll pass the levy. But this isn't about this levy, this is about, we passed the levy.
I understand.
It's a 4-year fix. look at the budget, it's a 4-year fix.
Yeah, and we're gonna be right back. I mean, long-term,
You try to
It's
pass
gotta
this
be a
again
better
in 4
solution.
years, it's gonna, I mean, the
right,
next
it's only gonna
board,
get worse.
that's the board that I'm, like, we'll pass this levy. Our community loves this.
They'll
school.
rally, right. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, but to expect that to come from the state level, when the entire state is celebrating this, they're gonna relax. It's gonna go off the front burner into a back burner issue. For us, it's a front burner issue, for sure. We can jump up and down and scream and yell all we want. I don't expect them to react to that. I'm just trying to anticipate it. So we have to do something in the end, something else. We have to have an alternative as well. If that would happen, if somehow somebody, some legislator at the state level would react and wanna do something, then great. Then, but I don't
Very
see that,
doubtful.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to take care of what we can take care of locally, and then work on the long-term aspects of it.
For sure. I mean, I don't disagree. But we gotta be realistic too. We have to deal with today. We have to deal with these realistic, these realities that we got teachers that are struggling.
And I saw
you
some,
know.
I don't think so's in the front row, and the reason I think it changes, because I've been on 3 levy committees now. This is the 3rd go-around, and this is the first time after the fail that I've had parents. I've had lots of administrators and teachers, and I've got parents calling me saying, all right, I'm in. What do we need to do to pass this thing? This is embarrassing. I've had business owners that say, I can't not pass the levy, like that's not gonna work, like we need, this community needs to be the shining star that it is.
We need people to vote.
Right,
We need our parents to vote.
and it is turnout, it's simple turnout, we don't need to change minds, we're not changing minds, we need to turn out. That's all we gotta do to win this thing, that's how we did it in 15. We need to look at the districts that didn't vote, the people that didn't vote, the districts that didn't vote for it, and fix it. That's how we win. We gotta get 1,400 yeses. Right? We've been losing by 11 to 1,200 every time. We need 1,400. It's that simple. We're not changing those 12, 11, 1,200, they've been
They're
really
gonna be a
consistent.
no every time.
They've been really consistent. There's no signs out that say vote no for the schools. They're not
They
organized.
just know they're going,
They're
they're gonna
going.
vote no.
There's gonna be 11
No matter what you
1,200.
say, who
Yep.
talks to them, they don't care, they're
Yep.
voting no. They'll be no till the day they die. So we need the folks who aren't voting to show up and go.
Any questions, other than what we talked about forecast wise?
Motion to approve it then.
Second.
Mr. Cashin,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Travers,
Yes.
Mr. Trainer,
Yes.
and Mr. Reitnauer.
Yes.
I did provide you, this is just informational, I did give you our non-continuous levy timeline, just to give you an idea. We will need to put the educational technology levy on the ballot for May, and then whatever else we may do. My expectation is to bring the resolution of necessity to the next board meeting in December, and the resolution to proceed at the January meeting to get these out of the way, whatever that may be. That will be for sure one of them, and then whatever else that the board deems necessary, that'll be on there too, so just kind of give you an idea.
And the 2015 effective rate is 5.6, that was a 6.3 when we passed it, just so everybody knows. So as we pass the levy, the millage drops as we renew a levy. So a 6.3 now becomes a 5.6, and the next time we pass it in 4 years, 5 years, it'll go from a 5.6 to a 4.8, because it will only collect
1,025,000.
Yeah, that's it.
Correct.
But unfortunately, since we didn't pass this recent levy, we have to ask for more millage because we've lost money.
On the
That would be the logical, yes, since this 5.25, if we would have passed it, we would have received money starting January 1 of 22. Now, since we didn't, we'll go into May, and if we would pass it in May, it would be 1/1 of 23, so you lost 1 year of collection.
whole year.
So we've lost 2 years since we failed last November, we failed this November, so we've lost
Correct.
2 years of, so that's 2.5 million, 2 million?
Yeah, I would say it's equivalent to a little over 2 million. That you, I always look at it as 1 year of collection. When you just take, let's take for example, this 1,025,000. That's what you got in a year. So this one 5.25 was 1,040,000. So that's what you basically lost, 1,040,000 for that year.
So our balance, cash balance would have been about, so let's say 2,681,000 at the end of this year, we'd be at 5,400,000, basically.
And that's a pretty nice balance, but like I said, the thing about it is once you get out here a couple of years, when you're siphoning off 1.2 or 1.3 million a year, that 5 million doesn't stick around very long.
No.
And that 1.2 million becomes 1.8 million next year, and then it comes, I mean, it's a ball rolling down the hill quickly.
So our best estimate is, because we'll be around 3 million next year, because you're conservative and we always beat it.
Well, like I said, without the Easter's money,
Yeah.
this would look a lot worse.
So that 3 million, we'll be down to 3 million before we start building that up again, if we pass it.
Well, I don't think, the reality of it is, you may not even be able to build back up. You're probably just gonna be able to, you know,
Stay flat.
yeah. Before the last levy, we were able to actually, nest egg a little bit. I think, I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to do that. It'll be pretty close.
So can you share with the board, I don't need it now, but where we were in 2015 in balance, so we can see what that
Yeah,
levy
we
did?
can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, Mike?
Okay. On page 10, we need the board to approve the employment of the board personnel as listed there in that section.
So moved.
Second?
Need a moment, Tom? Okay. Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rickman?
Yes. Who's he asking?
Okay, on page 11. We need the board to approve the employment of the certificate personnel as listed there.
All of them? All of them?
Wait a minute,
No, 11.
page 11.
Oh, all of them, okay, I was just saying, okay, gotcha.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rickman?
Yes.
On page 12, the board to approve those field trips and professional meetings as listed.
Motion.
Second?
Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rickman?
Only if I could go bowling with the sixth graders.
That's fine.
You're in.
Yes.
Some the blue blood, thank you.
Okay, on what should be page 14, under administration and instruction, need the board to approve number 1 there, the volunteers, level 2 volunteers, as listed.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rightnow.
Yes.
I need the board to approve number 2 there, an overnight trip for middle school wrestlers, going to Tri-Valley Schools.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Cashin.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And Mr. Rightnow.
Yes.
Number 3, discuss resolution to expand employment of substitute teachers. It was recommended to us, and this is in your book there, it was recommended to us by legal counsel that we should, with the state approving the reduction of some of the requirements, that we also adopt a resolution that recognizes that we can expand employment for substitute teachers.
Who's doing the interviewing? You guys?
No, the Red Hill hires all our subs, they do all the vetting, they meet with them, and then
Do we have any, like, say with this, like, we're going down to a non-degree?
well, yeah, we did,
So we
but
can, like, if somebody doesn't have the, we can say we don't want them back, or? how does that-
basically, that's what we had, we
Okay.
brought somebody in, so we had some parameters that we could set, I set an age parameter, of 24, just, I didn't want anybody too close to the age of the kids, and then, I let them do the vetting, and basically, the FBI PSAT background check, what we would end up doing is, like I said, if somebody came in but just, obviously wasn't gonna get the job in a regular, we just wouldn't call back, we'd have it pulled off the list, so.
How do we cover with the new employee, like, appropriate communication, behavior, those types of things with our students? Like, do we have a policy that we, employee policy?
At the beginning of the year, like
Yes.
Phil and Mike and all the administrators meet with the new employee, but like when we hire them, like now, you're saying,
Yeah,
like a substitute?
I think it should be covered off of every single
Is there an
person.
orientation or something?
Yeah.
They all go through before they, hey,
They
these
do
are
it right now, I think.
Yeah, they have a
Right.
training, they have training modules.
something we
Yeah.
provide,
Yeah,
I'm
there's a
assuming.
training.
I
But
think
it's
if
not-
I'm having somebody coming in this building, I wanna tell them,
Our
there's certain,
culture.
there's certain things
Here's
that
our rules.
I wanna say to every, and remind every, we do it at Verizon, I'm gonna talk about appropriate relationships with employees. If you're thinking of having a relationship with an employee, this is what you need to go to HR, you need to communicate it. I think in this case, I think it would be just smart to have a consistent reminder of that with people coming in to teach students and what is, what isn't appropriate, especially with social media. I just think, at least having a bulleted, here's the Genoa stuff we wanna be super, super duper clear about. Let's sign this, let's read it, what questions do you have? It's 5 minutes of time that I think is a good reminder for anybody coming in to do this job, so.
Well, and that was my intent, I had talked to Brenda about this, just because they hired a sub, and so quickly that she was out, but I think we're in good hands, because and we're off guard, but,
And she's awesome. She
Yeah.
is,
She
they're
very
so
so-
happy for her to have her.
and that was the intent, and most of the people that we hired in were parents. I mean, they were all parents, almost all of them exclusively, except for maybe one, was parents of our kids. I mean, that were referred, that
Right.
now, they're in the process, I don't know where they are, because I haven't gotten the approval. I get an e-signer approval that I have to put when we hire somebody through Red Hill. I've only seen 2 of those, so.
I just think communicating certain, I'll just be clear, we've gone through some crazy stuff this last year. It's a good reminder to young people coming to work in a school system to be told,
Do's and don'ts.
don't do this,
Well,
and it's good to do it often, to
Yeah.
say it often, because it'll keep a good person from doing something stupid. And people do stupid stuff, and if you remind them, that might be the catch that keeps them from ever doing it, and that's a better outcome than anything. I just think and you're gonna say it to people that you don't need to say it to, and they might get offended, but I just think, don't be offended, we're telling everybody this,
I know in the training modules that Emma said that you're not even supposed to say anything about your personal life at all, so I think they're covering that stuff.
They do cover all those things. It's not, it's not us specifically, but those are generally accepted.
Right.
This is behavior, generally accepted behavior and expectations when you're going to schools.
Yeah.
So it's not void, it's not void of that kind of instruction at all. It's just not us specifically, but it's still regardless, I see your point.
So you need us to approve that, right?
Yeah, yes, this resolution.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cashin? Yes. Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Travers?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rayner?
Yes.
Okay, number 4, discuss and approve the updated technology policy. I think you have this one here. There were some adjustments that we needed to make. You wanna?
Sure. So when we initially wrote the policy, it was 9-12 was 1-to-1, and now we're basically 1-to-1 throughout the district. So we just put in there 6 through 12, gets a case, takes it home. We address the technology insurance fund, the payments on that, and then added an opt-out clause. If you don't pay the insurance, we're gonna charge you for what it's gonna cost to repair.
Right.
So it's a $50 charge if I'm gonna replace your screen if you didn't pay your insurance, or you can pay the $25 and you're good. So as I'm delivering, I'm telling the kids, let's talk to the parents about it.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We're still 1-to-1 in the younger grades, they just don't take it home.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Travers?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rayner?
Yes.
Number 5 there, if the board to approve that as stated there, this kind of puts to rest some of those issues we had in terms of reimbursement for him.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Travers?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
Mr. Reitenauer?
Yes.
Okay, and number 6, the board approves Sylvan agreement for after-school instruction. And again, this is funded by using ESSER's fund, which we need to utilize. We have about 100, I know there's less than that now, but the third ESSER's, we have about approximately 160,000 that we need to use for after-school programs. So we have a couple of years to use it, but this is part of that process of utilizing that money to benefit our kids.
And we did get some really positive feedback on how helpful this was from some parents. I was at the FFA event this weekend, FFA GAC event, and some parents have used Sylvan with their students when they struggled, and really, really positive. And we know there's a lot of struggling students right now, more than ever, because of not being in our buildings. So this is really good spending, and if we don't spend it for this purpose, we don't get it. So it's not a cost to us locally, so this is coming from those federal funds, so.
Yeah, it's a great system.
Yeah, it really works.
Yeah, Paige took advantage of it in 3rd grade and math in middle school, and now she's top 20, so
I think
it's
we
very,
have-
very good.
All our kids pass that year with
Yeah.
help.
Mhm. So motion to approve this.
Second.
Mr. Cashin?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Travers?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rayner?
Yes.
And finally there, so I guess continuing discussion of the levy.
So we have a meeting coming up, post-mortem.
Yeah, I'd like to schedule that for next Monday. I know Wednesday we're out of school, but I'd like to schedule that for next Monday evening and get our group back together and anybody else that wants to come out. I had a staff meeting today at the high school afterwards, and there were a number of people who spoke up in school that said they had some ideas. Said just
I think it'd
let's
be
talk about it and show up and share them.
really good to get some people that were not involved in the committee to come in and do like a SWOT analysis, so really look like, all right, so what did you do? What was your marketing, what was your communication? How did you respond in social media? How did you get to non-social media people? Like, and just tell us what they think we did well, what they think we need to change, from there as well, so.
So you're gonna do this on Monday, the 22nd?
Yeah, I
Okay.
see, let me check with Matt, I know, the middle school starts next week with basketball, it's the only thing that might impede that, Monday night, I gotta double check with Matt on that date.
If possible, I'd like to go a week from that Monday, if possible.
After the holiday.
It's gonna be hard,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard that Monday.
Get people.
That's fine.
Some other things that came up last night, I asked Bill to get, a 5%, a 0.75, and a 1%, what was it,
Income tax.
income tax, earned income tax. So we could see if we want to change from property to income, what would be the amount we would have to put up in order to match the need. Earned income tax would not impact our fixed income elderly. That's why you use earned income tax and not a just straight income tax. So not to say that that's what we do, but I think we need to look at everything. So that would take it away from the property, and the benefit of the earned income tax is, as you know, so in 2006, if we passed this in 2006, that earned income tax would increase with inflation. As salaries go up, your collection goes up. When you do property tax, as property values go up, it does not go up. The millage drops, so it does not collect a dime more. So that would be the difference. There's small schools, Gibsonburg has done it, my hometown of Mechanicsburg, very similar community, passed one, and it's basically taken their levy cycles and really stretched it out in comparison to what we're doing. So I think it's could be a hard sell, could be a better sell, I don't know.
And we tried it here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2010, but it didn't go too well.
No.
I mean, I think,
How do you market it though? I mean.
well, I think, you know, if we had a special meeting, there's a few options. Income tax is one, whether it be traditional or earned. You can do, there's a few things I think would warrant a conversation. Looking at the income tax, I just was on a Zoom meeting with a bunch of treasurers, and I asked them, here's who has income tax around here. Eastwood, Clyde, Gibsonburg, Northwood, Elmwood, Evergreen, Swanton, BG, Otsego. That was just on my 18 treasurer Zoom meeting this morning. So there's a bunch of them that have it. It's not, it's not uncommon. Northwood had the smallest at 0.25. I think Clyde, had 1.25, maybe 1.5. So it's anywhere in between. And some of them were traditional. Elmwood, Evergreen, Swanton, all traditional. Eastwood, Gibsonburg, Northwood, Otsego, all earned. So
earned is your marketing against the
fixed income retirees, basically. Yeah. So there's a few that have that. So just to give you an idea. But I think it'd be well worth our time to have that special board meeting at some point, just to talk about everything sooner than later, because like I said, I'd like to come back whenever we plan at the December meeting and have that first resolution, if it goes to a resolution.
I think the other piece that we have to do is we have to tell the voter in May, because I'm assuming until we vote yes, we're going up in May. We do. We have to tell the voter in May, if this doesn't pass, what's cut in the beginning of next year.
That's accurate.
So we have to, it can't be
No, what's there,
potential.
if it doesn't pass
Potential
now,
has, yeah.
here's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So,
And I hate that. I hate it. I hate that that's what we have to do. This board has tried not to do that.
I agree, but to get
But
people
I
to
don't
go
think-
vote,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yep.
Okay, so Monday the 29th, we're gonna do a levy committee meeting. And then we wanna get something on the books now for a special board meeting before our next board meeting.
I like
Yeah.
that. I mean, just to discuss it through.
Okay, so I guess I'll look at some dates. How about, December 6th is a Monday night with everybody, it's like a week after our levy meeting. Would that be okay? Or like the 13th, because our board meeting's the 21st. Like a work session, we can do like a 5:30.
I'm good.
6th is fine.
6 is good, Keith?
I'll do my best.
Okay,
Said December 6th?
yes.
I can do that.
And I think we should invite Cheryl Robson, because she's gonna be dealing with this starting January 1.
First,
Yeah. You get your cake and you're out, whatever. Tom, we're done with you.
Okay, so work session on the 6th,
What time?
5:30?
So the other piece that so I talked to multiple superintendents. There was a really interesting session it was a union labor relations. I think all the teachers would be interested in this. And the session, this is the school board convention, and it was taught by a superintendent and the union president, which was really cool. But a big portion of it was when they came in, the relationship was a mess and they couldn't pass funding and all that. But so after the meeting, learned a lot in it, but after the meeting, we talked about how did you pass it. Had multiple superintendents tell us they hired professional PR to get the message out about the school system. And I think we have so many complex messages in such unique financial situations. I don't know if our amateur marketing has worked thus far. I don't think it has. I think it's failed. So I think it's worth getting pricing on that. It can't be towards passing the levy. The school can't purchase or pay for that. But you can hire PR to tell your district story. I know that's kind of a crazy thing to ask, especially when we have pay freezes and things like that in place. But I think the ultimate goal is to make this community understand what we're doing here and how we're doing it. And I think getting that pricing, though, maybe you could look in, there are multiple out there that do it specifically for schools. But I think it'd be worth at least getting the price and bringing that to that special meeting to see if that's something we want to consider for the board meeting, so.
See if they give a school caught in the crack discount.
Just doesn't sound good, does it?
No.
Might have to come up with that, see, that's why I don't do PR.
Yeah.
Help us get out of the crack.
I'd be willing to look at resources too with the OSGA too. Down there. We'll see what they think.
Yeah, there is a PR team for the Ohio State Board of Education that might be able to assist us as well. And then we could also, I mean, we used Tara Linker the last time, who does marketing professionally. We may have some volunteers that could step in, but I think we need professional help, so, probably in multiple areas.
In more ways than one,
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
more ways than one.
Yeah.
Tom, is there anything online?
Nothing.
Any other, what are you guys thinking on the levy?
Trouble. We got trouble.
Just get a parents go out and vote, not sugarcoat anything, get your butts out there, vote. Get it, Alicia.
The voter rolls? Did we get it? Not yet? Okay.
Public concise the cut list if you want people to vote.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyone further?
not anything else?
Nope.
Okay, motion to approve, or motion to adjourn.
Can we go to executive for a short, bit? No,
Yep.
no,
Nothing after?
Go into executive session to consider for personnel.
Executive session. Motion by Rob.
Second, yeah.
Mr. Cash. Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Travis.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And Ms. Wright.
Yes.
Yeah.